the Art and Industry of Business and Living podcast, discussing conscious choices around business, money, life and living, and creating a greater future for you and the planet. Hi everybody, welcome to the Art and Industry of Business and Living. You are with your host, Simone Milasas, and I am in St. Petersburg, Russia at the moment. Just finished a Choice of Possibilities class, which was awesome. And then tomorrow, I'm actually off to Buenos Aires, Argentina. So big, long flight, heading through Frankfurt, then to Argentina so that I can attend Gary Douglas, the founder of Access's Choice of Possibilities class. So lots going on. Haven't been home in a while, but be heading home for a few days early September. So and today I have with me, who I think is currently in Germany, is Corinna Kaebel. So welcome, Corinna.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm actually currently in Vienna, but it's close.
Are you in Vienna? And
Yes.
you were just complaining how hot it was. And I said, yeah, Europe does not prepare itself for the heat.
Oh, yes, that's so true.
Yeah. So it's a bit cooler here today in St. Petersburg, which I'm very grateful for. I went running the other day in 30 degrees Celsius heat. It was awesome. I loved it, but it's been hot. And not as many places have air conditioning here. They're not used to it. So,
Not at all.
but anyway, it's sort of a little bit of a lead into what we wanted to talk about, because I asked Corinna what she'd like to talk about today. Now, she's a Joy of Business facilitator, so you can find her on accessjoyofbusiness.com, and of course a certified facilitator on Access Consciousness. But the topic that Corinna brought up was being global. So tell me a little bit more about what that means to you, Corinna, with being global.
Well, actually, being global is very easy when you go to any Access class, because you basically meet people from all over the world. And being global is really being open to anybody and enjoying the different cultures, the different flavors, the different ways people communicate. So to me, this is really one of the most exciting things, to be traveling, to be meeting people. And also, of course, I have a big love for languages. And I have also lived in Russia, where you are currently, currently. And this is the enjoyment of diversity, which doesn't mean we need to think we are separate.
So where were you brought up, Corinna?
I was brought up in West Germany, actually. So rather boring.
Yeah, okay. And then where do you currently live? Like, where's your house with your clothes?
Well, my house with my clothes, my closet with my clothes is actually in Vienna. And it's really funny. Actually, I'm traveling so much that it's an exception if I'm here for more than 2 weeks. It's already like, wow, okay, now I can explore the city. Now I can get to know new parts of Vienna, the place I'm supposed to live in.
2 weeks at home. I was just talking to Dr. Dane here, and I was like, it'd be really nice to go home for a little bit before I went to Argentina, but that would just be sitting on planes forever. So it's like,
wow.
So how many languages do you speak, Corinna?
I really speak Russian, German, and English, and I know a little bit of French, a little bit of Spanish. It's just like dabbling in those languages. But I enjoy, this is, for instance, also something that for me is savoring the different flavors of different languages and cultures. When I was at your Business Done Different class in Paris, I went out with a French group to have lunch, for instance, and then sometimes they would speak only French. But for me, it was like taking a bath, like immersing myself in this beautiful language and just relaxing into the language and allowing myself to sometimes understand, sometimes not understand. So this is just what came to mind.
I love that point of view. And you also said, being global is about the willingness to be open. So I get that there's a lot of people that would be listening to this show, especially we have so many listeners from America and Canada and Australia, and English is, of course, their first language. So what sort of tools or questions can you offer to people that go, but I only speak English, I only speak one language? Like, how can they get to start looking at their business and creating their business with that being global aspect?
Wow. I mean, first of all, where have you decided that are you only speak English. So, I mean, how many languages or what affinities are there from other lifetimes to other languages? So, have you noticed that when you visit certain countries, you feel much more at home? For instance, for me, it's Russia. The first time I set foot on Russian ground, it was like, oh, I'm back home. And I learned Russian in a rather short period of time, and it's very close to me. So this is one of the things I'd explore just for the fun of it. And it doesn't mean you have to be, I mean, like proficient in that language right away, but just to get this feel of, maybe there are other places I also feel at home. I mean, the first language really is energy. And I used to live, now I remember, as when I was a child, when I was 1 year old, we moved to the Netherlands. And of course, people didn't speak German there. They spoke Dutch. And I naturally switched to Dutch. And I heard, I don't remember it, that I would be translating for my parents and my sister in the beginning as well. So, I mean, how children do it naturally. They don't have a point of view about that. And what if you could just go into this energy of children who are open to like, okay, what's that? Like, not even start to judge yourself for not understanding, and just savoring words, how they sound, how people say them in certain contexts. When a lot of emotion is attached, it's very easy to remember. Yeah, also people who tell you words, certain people. For instance, it was the niece of my back then boyfriend who told me, and I can remember until this day, who told me how you say chewing gum and sponge in Russian.
two very good, important words to know.
Exactly. 2 words you cannot go without. But it's really ingrained, and it's forever linked with the situation. So there's so many ways of exposing yourself to different languages. You can watch films with subtitles. You can, films in other languages with subtitles. I mean, there's so many, especially on YouTube. It's easy to find stuff. Just play around. Just make it a game, a discovery game where you don't have the obligation to learn it right away. And then, of course, there's always translators. It would be hard for all of us to know all the languages of all the countries to go to, but how much more fun can we have if we open ourselves up to at least grabbing and embracing a few words, and especially the energy. And watch, I found, tell me if I'm going on for too long, but it's just,
it's fine.
What I notice is really cool, that if you don't understand the language, the spoken language, then you are even more forced to observe the energy. And this is so much fun. I think this is really cool. So you look more to body language and all of that. So how much fun is that? And then you can ask somebody, okay, what was it all about? What was the gist of the conversation? And then you can also always add to your repertoire and really enjoy this. And body language in different languages. There are even books about that. And I think this is a lot of fun.
And I think one of the main things I'm hearing as you're talking as well is not resisting. So right now, it's like when you're going, but she found it really easy to do and I can't find it easy. It's like all the resistance and reaction you have to actually speaking a language, hearing a language, listening to a language, and knowing about languages where you destroy and uncreate it. Times a godzillion, right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. And if you want to know more about the clearing statement, go to theclearingstatement.com where Dr. Dane, talks about it. But if you've been listening to my shows, you probably know all about that. So because one of the tools that we do talk about in Access is, and as Corinna sort of, touched on there, is if I ask you the question, it's like, truth, what's your first language? Mm-hmm. And wherever you're from, it's usually not the language that you currently speak. Like for me, I was born in Australia, so I'm speaking English, and the most, my answer would be English if I wasn't willing to actually have a look, as Corinna mentioned, the energy of it. And it's like, okay, so truth, what was my first language? And I get that it wasn't English. I get it was something different. So how many of you actually speak so many languages and you haven't allowed yourself to access all of those capacities from all of those lifetimes? And everything at that is times a godzillion where you destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. what would it take? What energy, space, and consciousness can you and your body be that would allow you to comprehend languages, speak them fluidly, and understand them totally across the entire face of the earth? And everything that that is times a godzillion, where you destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine, shorts, boys and beyonds. I love the way you're talking, Corinna, about like when you said you went to lunch with the French people and you sort of bathed in the language. It's a receiving from them, like through the molecules, not just through, I will now study this, etc. It's like, no, it's like, receiving the whole entirety of it. Even if you don't cognitively understand it, what part of it do you understand? And I quite often find that if I know a topic, like if I know what people are talking about, it makes it a lot easier. If I don't know the topic, I'm like,
exactly, like,
lost me. Yeah. And what languages do you find a bit easier? I mean, German for me, my father taught me German when I was 4 years of age. And, I did the typical thing of a child and went, I don't want to do that anymore. So he didn't, which I wish he did, but he didn't. But as soon as I went and worked in Austria, it came back. Like I could hear myself hearing things and going, oh, I know that. Whether it was like the pronunciation, the ability to read German, or like I said, get a topic and then I can go, I think I'm getting what they're saying. You can hear the words here and there. So it really is just a matter of playing with it.
Yeah.
So how do you take this into the energy of, because we're talking about being global, and so if you're creating your business in different languages and different countries, what's some of the first things that people can start to do to actually create their business and be that globalness, that have that energy of being global?
Well, one of the main aspects really of Access, following the energy, following what's light for you, following what's joyful. I have above my desk, I have the world map. And I look at it, and sometimes my gaze falls upon one country. And then I kind of explore energetically. What is it? Is it calling? Is this country calling? Is it now? Is it later? It's really, I'd say, whenever you have contact, get into contact with people from other countries. Just be open. I'd say don't make a plan out of it. Just really follow the energy, and don't think you have to go to this country now. But really, if you didn't confine yourself to what you consider to be any limitations regarding language proficiency, what would you choose? Where would you like to go? Which country would be exciting and enticing to discover?
And which city? I mean, I quite often look at maps too. It's like my son has a massive, wallpaper. He's got a feature wall at home in his bedroom, which has a big world map on it, hoping to, open his awareness of the world as well. And what I would do is things like at the moment, Greece keeps pinging me. Like I keep getting these different, pieces of information. And I said to Francesca the other day, who works with us, and she works in translation, I said, hey, can we check out what's happening in the Greek islands or in Greece, the whole country? Because I heard that we've got about 40 bars facilitators. And I'm like, well, what could we do there? Like, what if we did a Zoom for them, and what could we encourage with there, and how could we build up the business there? I know I used to work in Santorini and one of the Greek islands, and it was stunning. It's like, I'd love to go do classes there. I'd love to, open that up. So what I often have a look at too is and I call it pinging me. It's like, what's pinging me? What sort of, you flick through a magazine, you're like, oh, where's that? I've been looking at Bora Bora for ages and wanting to go to Bora Bora. It's so beautiful. And now the French Polynesian Islands near Australia are all opening up with access, and I'm off to Tahiti in October. And the exact sort of accommodation I always look at for Bora Bora is where I'm staying in Tahiti. So you're like, all right, so just know that when you ask for things, you might ask for it today, tomorrow, next week, and it might not show up until tomorrow or next week or 5 years or 10 years' time. But if you're asking and ask things to physically actualize and ask, questions of what would it take for this to show up with ease, it's like, what would it, who else do I have to talk to, etc. You'll be amazed to see how much you actually ask for does show up.
Yeah.
Now, what made you start doing business in Russia? How did that come about?
Good question. Well, my first business in Russia was working as a translator. And it was really my love for Russia. As I mentioned before, I really felt at home for the first time in my life.
Whereabouts did you feel at home in Russia? Because I came here too and I went, home sweet home.
Cool.
That was St. Petersburg.
Oh,
I was like,
yeah.
I've been here before.
Well, it's actually, different places. Petersburg was really beautiful. I loved it. But this, for me, it was more Moscow and especially the Caucasus region. The Caucasus, you have a lot of ethnicities there, like Armenians, Georgians, whatever. And it's even the music, the duduk music, like very, very
Right.
sad music, like from the desert. It's also the paraphernalia, or how do you call this, from the Soviet Union, the remains, that the flats look all the same and all of that. This also felt very familiar.
Right. So you've been there, done that.
Yes,
and
exactly.
Look, if you know what we're talking about here, it's like you know what we're talking about. But if you don't, when you go to a place, ask a question and say, okay, so have I been here before?
Yeah.
I mean, there's some airports, some cities I fly into. Recently, we were in Turkey a few months ago, and Brendan arrived in Turkey and he hadn't been there before. And he was like, oh, this place feels so relaxing. Now, not many people are going to call Istanbul, Turkey relaxing.
Yeah.
But to him, it was. So it's like,
I saw that. Yes.
Who have you been here? It's like, what did you do? And it doesn't mean anything. It's not significant. What you did in a previous lifetime, to me, it's like, who cares?
Yeah.
It's what are you doing this lifetime?
Right.
But it's also a whole lot of fun when you arrive somewhere. I mean, a friend of mine was saying, you're putting, photos up on Facebook and Instagram of Russia, and it honestly feels like you're showing us your backyard.
Oh.
I was like, that's exactly what I feel like too.
I love it. Oh my goodness, yes.
So, yeah.
Cool. And now, of course, I'm excited. I started as a translator. Now I'm excited to be doing classes in Russia. This is so much fun. And it's really what is so familiar to me in Russia is really the way people function. It's very, and it doesn't matter from which, they have this thing in Russia. You have intelligentsia and you have normal people, so to say. So, and for me, it's really, as I said before, really, really familiar. And so it's awesome. I've been to the very far east already in Kamchatka and also in Sochi. And next stop most probably will be Kamchatka again. And then let's see, maybe St. Petersburg too. It's not,
How very exciting. So where can people find your classes if they're interested in coming along, Corinna?
They can find my classes on my Access Consciousness profile on my website. So I don't know how familiar the people who listen to this are with this website.
accessconsciousness.com. Yes. And we give out a summary of the call as well, so they can go there. So accessconsciousness.com. And you can also find Corinna on accessjoyofbusiness.com as well, because she's a Joy Business facilitator.
Exactly.
So you can go search her out there. And her last name is Kaebel. So if you're looking for how to spell that, it's Corinna. I would say Kaebel. Is that how you say it?
Absolutely, yeah.
There you go. Nailed it.
Yes. And you spell it right. Many Germans don't spell it right.
Right. That's very cool. So anything else that you want to sort of mention to the listeners, Corinna, about, creating that global business and being global?
I'd say it's really going back to this childlike curiosity, like this. Oh, what's this? How do people function here? Or not even. And you don't even have this question. It's just this. Oh, this is exciting. This is exciting. How does this work? Well, where does this go? And I think being global, you can start doing this even at the place where you live, because usually you also have a lot of people with different backgrounds. So you can start there by being curious, by talking a bit more to the local, whatever, Turkish vendor, whatever. So I think this is where the adventure starts. And then you can just follow the energy and see where it takes you.
I love that idea. That's such a brilliant tool of, that childlike curiosity. And in your own hometown, wherever you are, it's like everywhere you've decided that you know it, rather than having a look around, tomorrow, wake up, new eyes, and have a look around and see if you can notice anything different and start engaging with people who are different and with elements that are different. I mean, even go into a bookshop and pick up some books on different, areas that you've always desired to look at. I mean, for years, New York and London were two cities that I always wanted to go to. So when I was 19, one of the first places I went to was New York, and then I went and lived in London. So, and I get now it's like, all right, so, many lifetimes I had there that I was like, yeah, I want to go back home. But it's like, where else do you want to go? Like I actually want to go to one of the cities. I think you just said it. It's the fourth biggest city in Russia. It's on the Siberia side, Kaliningrad or something. It's
the most Kamchatka, but maybe you're Vladivostok.
I think that's it.
Kamchatka.
Yeah, because this
is a peninsula with volcanoes. It's the north of Japan. It's Kamchatka.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's near Japan. Yes. But that just pinged me, and I was like, yeah, I want to go there.
Yes.
So you know what? And what if that was also the universe willing to assist you and contribute to you, like with you having that awareness and the willingness just to go, yep, there.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Right.
What is there? And it could be anything.
Right.
It could be anything.
Exactly.
So if you have no expectations and no projections of what can show up, being global, going global, it's amazing what possibilities are available for you that you've not yet asked for and you've not been willing to receive. And if you did, your whole entire reality can change.
Yeah.
So welcome to a new world, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
So thank you so much, Corinna, for joining me here today. I'm extremely grateful. You're in hot Vienna and you came in and sweated it out in your apartment. So I'm grateful for that. And I look forward to seeing you somewhere in the world soon. Might be next time we're in Europe. So
yeah.
Because I am heading off tomorrow for Argentina. So very exciting.
Yeah. And
everyone, if you like these podcasts, please, share it around. And it's like, go check out my Instagram and Simone Milasas, MILASAS.com, the websites. It's all there. Get your bars run. Do it. Find a Joy Business facilitator and go to a Joy Business class, because you know what? Your business is your life, as I always say, and your life is your business. So you don't have to be in business. You don't have to own one. You have to be willing to create.
Wow.
So thank you so much, Corinna, for joining me here today.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm really, really happy and grateful. Thank you.
You are so welcome. Thank you. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.